topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast, broadcasting live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. This week and every week, we will reach for a higher purpose in money and life, as well as a focus on health and wellness. Now, let's join your host, Bonita Bell-Andersen, as together we start with Asking Good Questions.
Hey, welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast. And I am so happy you're here today. This is so important, especially for those baby boomers out there and people who are getting close to thinking about needing this topic that is Social Security. And today I have someone with me who helps make Social Security fun. Her name is Marcia Mantell, and I'd like to invite her to the podcast stage.
Hello, Bonita.
Hello. Well, she is a nationally known keynote speaker, an author, a retirement planning guru, and a baby boomer like me. And her career has focused on helping people approach retirement with a clear head. When I met Marcia, she and I, we're like sisters. We're like on the same plane because I've also taught Social Security for years. So Marcia she has a real passion for making these details about Social Security and Medicare understandable. And she has a real practical experience working directly with financial institutions as well, and writes. She has an approachable teaching style. She continues to make a difference for individuals facing these so important lifetime decisions. And we have got some stuff coming up this year that I knew I needed to do something special about that at the beginning of the year. So with that, is there anything you'd like to add to that little intro, Marcia?
Well, it was so kind of you to give me those kudos. Thank you. The only other thing I'd mention is I'm married to this wonderful man, Dan. We've been married for 42 years, and there's a possibility we could kill him today, Bonita, as we talk about Social Security. And he knows that I do that from time to time. So
yes,
we'll be safe, but I'd like you to know about Dan.
Well, we may be discussing some uncomfortable facts.
We may.
But people need to know. And I know you, like I, have tried to convince people to wait until 70. Most people don't. They take Social Security right at the outset at age 62, and they lock in some real unfortunate penalties for themselves. So
exactly how I describe it too. It is a penalty. Yeah.
So when people say, Social Security has changed, what are they usually reacting to? Are they talking about rules, or are they talking about headlines or misinformation, or maybe some real policy? I don't think there's been any real policy shifts yet. You and I are on the same page as that too, that Congress is going to do something. Well, what do you think people are reacting to?
Yeah, they're really reacting to the headlines. And there has been so we just turned to the new year. We're in 2026, but 2025 had some of the most belligerent, egregious, scary, terrible headlines about the demise of Social Security. Yeah. And, things started out really rough when the Doge team came in and started mucking around in the system, which created a tremendous amount of angst. So anyone in their early 60s was really concerned. Like, we finally get to almost the finish line, right? And it's like, oh my God, it's going away. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Everything is being upended. my benefits are going to disappear just when I need to enter.
Right.
And the older folks were freaking out as well because they've already been receiving benefits for 20, 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
What am I going to do when I don't have Social Security? It's not going anywhere.
No.
I mean, let's just.
It's not.
Right. It's the elephant in the room. And it's so hard to trust and just take it on faith that it's not going anywhere. It's a gigantic law. I mean, this law has been around since 1935. The laws just don't disappear off the books. No. And Congress would have to act to shut it down. And we'd have no revenue going in because there'd be no workers in America. I mean, like all these things that just won't
Armageddon, Marcia.
It could be with that, maybe, but we're not having Armageddon either, as you know, Bonita. So yes.
And last time I checked, I think I was citing 66 million people. There's at least, it's got to be more now, but at least 66 million people on Social Security. So it's like there's a ton of people that are depending on this.
And getting bigger the numbers every day. That is about the right number. It's about 56 million retirees, 10 million on disability, SSDI.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is the underpinning except for the top 0.1%. It is the underpinning of everyone's income in retirement.
Yeah.
And without it, I mean, you'll either burn through your savings in a couple of years and be destitute, or you're not going to make it at all because you have no savings. Well, that's not what we do here in America. Right. The program was created to make sure our seniors who worked all those years stayed above the poverty level. You're not going to be rich, you're not getting rich on Social Security, but you'll be able to eat and put a roof over your head.
It's kind of like a foundation.
It really is.
That's what I see. It's a foundation, and then people have their retirement, whatever they've saved for retirement, and then they might have a little pension. So that,
or they might do some part-time work. I describe it as a layer cake. I do so love to eat cake. So the bottom layer of the layer cake is Social Security. And then you might have a pension on top of that. And then you might have some 401k or 403b savings. You might work part-time. You might have rental income. So all the other layers come after. But if you don't have a strong foundation, we've all watched those cake making shows on TV. The cake crumbles. So no different here.
Right. Well, what do you think the biggest pain points are for people that keep them up at night when they're thinking about when and how to claim? They're hearing everybody say, "Oh, just take it at 62." What are those biggest pain points?
Yeah, I find, as I talk to a lot of financial advisors as well as consumers, the biggest pain point is they really are fearful that the program won't be here any longer. And so they don't understand the construction of the program. So that's the first thing to know is this program is not funded by the federal government. This program is funded by you and me and all the workers. That's our FICA taxes. They sort of forward pay our obligation to our seniors, my mom and dad, and all the older folks who are receiving Social Security. And we're earning chits in the bank. So then our kids come along and they pay in through FICA so that we'll get our share and our earned benefits. Where it's a little scarier is the Social Security trustees report that came out last June. They did project, and I don't know if you have the slide. I have a slide with a little grandfather on there. If we want to put that up, the trustees, who are really the smartest people about Social Security out there. Oh, perfect. They did report that. Oh, nope. The one you had with Grandpa. Nope. One more. Yep. That one. They did project that the Social Security reserve account, the savings account of the extra money that's been banked in Social Security to pay for the boomers' retirements, we're using that money to pay benefits, and that is starting to be used and will go dry. But we still have all these payroll taxes coming in. So where people are confused is they think the whole program is going to go away. And so they need to claim early. And this is what keeps them up at night. They really are concerned. And they think so long as they're already in, then no one can cut their benefits.
Yeah.
Wrong. There's the fallacy. It doesn't matter whether you're already been claiming for 30 years, or if you're, 60 and getting ready to move into retirement in a few years. If the savings account portion of the trust fund empties and goes to zero, there is no more extra money to pay the benefits. So it's only payroll taxes. They pay in about 77% of the income needs for retirees. So everybody gets a cut. And there is no grandfathering. I hear that. Even my dad talked about that at Christmas. He said, "Oh, I'm fine with Social Security. I'm grandfathered in." I said, "No, Dad, you are a grandfather, but you're not grandfathered into anything." Because
that's been a big question.
Yeah.
People thought, well, maybe I'm okay, but my 50-year-old kids won't be. No,
it's everybody, every person. So, Congress knows this. They tend to wait until the very last second, until the crisis is literally at the door. And then all of a sudden we'll have amendments, we'll have changes, we'll have improvements, and all will be well with the world again. But
it's almost at the door. And I know that the trustees report has usually said, if Congress would act sooner rather than later, then it wouldn't be so painful. But
they won't. It's not how the game works in Washington. So we all just have to get comfortable with that, even though it is uncomfortable. So I say that's the most distressing pain point for folks. The other one I run into a lot, and we can go to the taxation slide.
Is that this one?
Yes, that one, the one with the timeline.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the situation with Social Security benefits. Once you start receiving them, you are outraged that you are being taxed on your benefits. Well, yes, you are. Not everyone, but lots of people are being taxed. And there's some history to it. I mean, it's just not willy-nilly that Congress decided to do this. We saw this bankruptcy issue back in the early 1980s. And Congress had to fix the reserve account, fix the funding, make sure that the baby boomers were going to have benefits. Right. So in 1983, after the reserve account drained down to zero, because we've already seen this movie, Congress stepped in with the 1983 amendments. That was an important year. It's the year Dan and I got married.
They let it go to zero.
They did. Yeah, it was depleted. So they put in a 1-year borrowing arrangement between the trust funds, which is the only way. We can't just put money into the kitty. The law does not allow that. The only money allowed into Social Security's trust fund are payroll taxes, interest on the reserve fund, and now, as of 1983, taxation of benefits. So this was a strategy back in the Reagan administration that said, look, we've got to build up the coffers here. And so they did things like they extended our full retirement age from 65 now to 67 with all those little incremental steps.
And I'm pretty sure that's going to go to 70. Don't you think it's going to go to 70?
No, there's no way.
No
way. And because it will completely undermine any, what I call them, the real workers, the workers who sling a hammer and who are in the service sector on their feet, 10 hours a day. These folks can barely make it to 62. So if we extend the full retirement age all the way to 70, that's fine for us people who sit on our butts all day. It is not fine for the other half of workers in America who are on their feet all day. Yeah. So they would have, instead of a 30% penalty, they would have a 45% penalty.
Oh, wow.
It can't happen. It's just, and it doesn't do much to shore up the savings account or the funding of the program. Interestingly, it does very little. What's going to make a change is if we do things like have higher income people pay on a larger portion of their income. That's the single biggest driver of the change. So, there are things that can be done and increase the payroll tax for everybody a little bit. I mean, we can do smaller things across multiple solutions. Let's say that way.
Right.
So back in 1983, all of a sudden there was going to be a benefit taxation, a taxation on benefits.
Up to 50%.
up to 50% of your benefits, not a 50% tax. That's what people get really confused
right.
on.
Yeah.
So it's right, half
of
your benefit. If you get $10,000 a year, $5,000 of that would come into
taxable.
income
Part
on
of your
on
taxable income.
Exactly. And then you just pay your ordinary tax rate on that $5,000.
Right.
But you see the numbers here. So what Congress said in the law was, well, we only want to charge the higher income folks in retirement. Back in 1983, high income was $25,000 for an individual and $32,000 for a couple, a married filing jointly couple. Well, that's not high income today.
No.
But those are still the limits. What Congress did not do was, we call it index for inflation. They did not say every year we're going to increase those thresholds. So what's happened is more and more and more recipients of people who have their 401ks and Social Security, they get stuck paying this tax. And then in 1993, since this worked pretty well for Social Security, we also, so for the even wealthier people, higher income people, let's add another layer of tax. Up to 85% of their dollars would be taxed as income. So it's these two laws, or these two amendments to Social Security, made taxation a thing. And everybody hates it. But it keeps the program more solvent than it would be otherwise. So I wanted to make sure that we knew that piece, because now we can go to the other slide.
Okay.
Because this year, 2025, when Congress passed H.R. 1, the new budget bill, there was a provision in there that addressed deductions for seniors, for those 65 and older. Unfortunately, the administration positioned it as a elimination of tax on your Social Security.
Not true.
Not true. Completely unrelated to Social Security, but very good news for lots of seniors. So, anyone who turned 65 in 2025 or is older than that, if you have modest to medium income, you're going to get an additional $6,000 deduction on your taxes. You do not have to be taking Social Security. This has nothing, one hand has nothing to do with the other in this case. It's just a bonus deduction. If you're 65 and older, and it's available for 4 years, you can be
only 4 years.
Only 4 right now. And you can use the standard deduction or itemized, doesn't matter how you want to file. And the key was, though, it phases out. The only people who will get the $6,000 full bonus are those single filers who have income under $75,000.
Right.
And married filing jointly if their income is under $150,000. Now, this is going to cover a lot of seniors. Don't get me wrong. It's great, but there's a phase out. So it isn't for every senior. It has nothing to do with whether you're claiming Social Security or not. But I'm happy to see that there's an additional, bonus deduction for our oldest Americans. It's good news. Just unrelated to Social Security.
Yeah. So just to make clear, are these changes that impact people already receiving benefits different than people who haven't claimed yet? Maybe they're getting ready to claim in a couple of months.
That it doesn't matter. It's an age for this particular bonus deduction. It's an age driver. So if you turned 65 in 2025,
anytime.
Anytime.
Like I said,
anytime. Yep. Then you are eligible for consideration, is the way I put it. So you're in the right age.
I love the language.
Thank you.
Yes.
Because, you do meet the age requirement, but you might not meet the income requirement, especially if you're still working.
It's like, read the fine print, Marcia.
Well, that's exactly it. Yes. So you might get $3,000, bonus money, bonus deduction.
Right. So the up to, so you could, so like maybe it'll be one or, So, okay. So that's also important to understand.
Yes. And the tax forms, I've seen the 2025 1040. It is relatively, it was a draft form of the tax return, of the tax form. If you use TurboTax or Quicken Tax or Tax Act or something online, this will be built in. You'll answer some questions. And if you are doing it, long form on paper, I think it's pretty clear how this works, but it's a completely new section or on a different schedule for where you're going to get the calculation of your personal deduction for seniors and how much you'll get.
Okay. So this was something that I really wanted to make sure we covered. If you have any questions, there's going to be, where to get a hold of me, and there's going to be an information sheet about Marcia. So, but yes, if you have a CPA, they should be up to speed on this now. Yep. And if you're using one of the online tax programs, then that should be helpful. Let's go back now to claiming strategies. Let's take those slides down. Thank you. And so what's your plain English explanation of the trade-off between claiming early, claiming at full retirement age, and claiming at age and delaying to age 70?
So I always start with claiming at full retirement age. So your full retirement age benefit is your anchor. That's where all the calculations for how much money you're going to get from your work history, that's where it all sits. That's your anchor. So if you wait until full retirement age, which was between like 66 and 6 months now and 67, or for most people who haven't yet claimed, your full retirement age is your optimal benefit. That is your best calculated benefit. It's the target you're aiming for. If you decide to claim before full retirement age, it is a penalty. That's exactly the word I use. You're penalizing yourself. It is a penalty because you cannot recover the hit to your income. And if you claim at 62, but full retirement age is 67, that is a 30% penalty.
Yeah.
Like, where are you going to make that money up?
And the thing that blows me away is that it makes such a difference when you get into your 70s and get into your 80s. And it's like, oh my gosh, I always try to, impress on people, figure out some other way. Sometimes you cannot.
Right.
There's no getting around just going ahead and taking it. But if there's some way to keep on working a little bit longer, doing something so that you wait.
Yes, it is so important because you do get old. If we're all lucky, we're going to age to be ripe old age in retirement. My parents are in their mid 80s. My in-laws just died in the last year. My mother-in-law was 100 and a half. My father-in-law was 102.
Yeah.
We live a long time now, so you really need that long view. And where's the money going to come from when you're 86 and 90 and 95?
Well, what do you think is a likely scenario of what's the situation when claiming early claiming early makes sense? Do you think
it's when you're sick, not when you think you're going to be sick someday, when you actually have a cancer diagnosis, when you have a really serious chronic illness and are not expected to live very long in retirement.
Then,
But here's what's not. I should claim early because I could die early. My mom is still alive, but those people who, my parents died early. My father, died of a heart attack. My mother had this thing or that thing, and they died early. So it's likely I'm going to die early. So I better claim now. That is not a good strategy because perfect example in my family is my mother. Her father died very young, early 50s. Her mom died in her early 70s. My mother's 86 on her way to 100.
Yeah.
So rather than thinking about what the last generation did in their era of less medical advancements, less medical knowledge, less, clean access to clean water and clean air and such, better food now. Think about the possibility that you will go another 30 years.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, and most people do know someone who's well into their 90s in their family. So just when they make that connection, it's like, oh, right, Aunt Sally is 99.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's plan for way out there. And that helps you see the impact of the decisions, because then you get bonus money if you can wait up until 70. You don't have to go all the way till 70. Start at your anchor again, your full retirement age amount. And then even 1 year delivers an additional 8% in guaranteed income.
Right. Well, what do you think, so what we're talking about is like, there's what we call break-even points, where somebody starts early and when is it that those two lines where they started early and they waited until they are their full retirement age, what are the most overlooked break-even considerations that people should run before choosing a start date? So most people I know don't think about, it's going to be, like if I would have waited, I'm going to have more money starting with like when I'm 78 or something like that.
Yep. I call it 80. Everybody's math is slightly different, but it always comes out to about age 80. And you ask the question, are the odds good that I will live till 80? Well, that's where if you already have a cancer diagnosis that's not so curable, your odds are not good that you're going to live till 80. So you would be one of those candidates who would claim early.
Right.
But if you don't have that, you can probably wait.
Because
let's
make a comment.
Live beyond 80.
Yeah. I want to bring this up too. Like, how should listeners think about Social Security as longevity insurance? That's another idea. Let's talk about, think of this as longevity insurance rather than just a monthly paycheck.
I completely agree. And it's insurance for when you can no longer work, when no one will hire you any longer, or when you're just fed up when you're old. It's okay to be old. I think it's so interesting. I just saw my mother this morning and I said, we Americans do not treat our older people well. I think it's so awesome. If you get to live till 90 or 95, like you talk about bonus years. Wow. Yeah. And I'm sure as heck not going to be working then, so it is insurance for those years that you're still going to be here, and make the best of these years from 70 to 95 or longer.
Absolutely.
And enjoy it.
Let's talk a little bit about couples. And what claiming mistakes do you see most often with married couples who are trying to coordinate benefits?
Oh, there are so many. The number one thing that I see is that, and this will be a little more technical, but that the spouse, the lower earner spouse, who's going to get a spousal top up. So she'll get, I'm going to say she, so if I'm the lower earner spouse and Dan's the higher earner.
It's the stereotype, but it's usually the way it is.
But you can follow along in the scenario and then adjust for your personal situation. But right, so if she's the lower earner, the couple, usually both of them think that she can claim, let me think, how does it go? She can claim her benefit early, which is true, and claim her spousal benefit at the same time. She cannot. She cannot claim the spousal portion that she's going to get, the extra bonus money that she'll get, or the top up money that she'll get, until he claims. So then it's a scramble because, then he, the higher earner, says, then I need to claim so that she can get a spousal top up. It's like, no, she can claim her own portion of her own benefit that she earned on her own work record. Wait until you're 70. She'll get the spousal top up and he gets the maximum that will then protect her if he dies first.
What? I gotta tell you, one of the things that in all of the classes that I've taught is telling the guys in the room that the most loving thing they can do
Yes.
is wait. Because typically if her benefit is smaller than his, then it only makes sense to have his be as large as it could possibly be.
Yes. And, there are a couple of scenarios I've run where just the way the couple, their age difference, their income gap difference, where it didn't quite work that way, but almost, it's 85% of the time it works out that way. And another piece that everyone makes a mistake, everyone, not just married couples, they don't realize that the number you see on your statement, people are pretty good about looking at their statements now. The number they see that they think is their benefit amount is not the amount that's going to land in their checking account, because Medicare Part B premiums are automatically pulled from the Social Security cash flow before you ever get someone.
Gone up a pretty significant amount.
Yes, almost 10% year over year. Yeah, up to $202.90 per person per month. And that's only going to continue to go up. And Part B premiums rise much more rapidly than general inflation.
Yeah.
So you're going to get bigger and bigger Part B premiums. So you want as big a starting point as possible. And if you're the surviving spouse and your the higher earner died first and left you with a smaller benefit than there should have been, and your Part B premiums are so big, you're getting into a real cash flow crunch here.
Well, and then not only is the Part B premium taken out, but you also should probably be taking taxes out and sending it. So you've got, look at this big amount, and then you've got to take Medicare premiums out, and you really should take taxes out, and that's going to cut it down.
It really does. And I think the other really surprising part for married couples, I don't know where these misconceptions start, but they think that if the higher earner dies, that she's going to keep her benefit and get half of his. Or some of them think you just keep both benefits.
No.
No. This is one person, one benefit. It's the one that's higher, which benefit is higher.
And the other one goes away.
That's right. And that cuts household income by 1/3 to 1/2, depending on their amounts they're receiving, each individual.
Right.
So that's a shock to the system when you didn't, and it's immediate. I will say, Social Security operations, they are really efficient. As soon as that death notice goes to Social Security, bam, his account is shut off, hers is shut off, and she starts getting the very next month.
Let's talk about another fun subject, Marcia. Let's talk about working while you're claiming before full retirement age. How does that complicate the decision, and what traps should people avoid?
Yeah, that sinks the anchor. Going back to your full retirement age benefit is your anchor amount. If you claim at any point before that age, so 67 for me, and you're still working and you make more than hobby money, it's about $24,000. If you make more than $24,000 in a year, you will not get all of your Social Security benefit. It's already been reduced because you're claiming early, and now you're not going to get it because you make too much money.
Beating yourself on the head with a hammer.
Yeah. Or hitting a brick wall. Right.
Right. Yeah. That too.
Yeah. And people are, again, so frustrated because it is funny when you talk to individuals and they come to you like, I have got a strategy that's going to work. Like, oh my, what might you think you're going to be doing?
Yes.
And it's always this one. Like, I'm going to, claim at 62 or 63. Usually it's a man who has come up with this. Much as I love the men, this is not a strategy. And I'm going to keep working and I'm going to claim, but I'm investing that money. Excellent. How much do you earn, sir? Well, $225,000 a year. How much do you think you're going to get from Social Security? Oh, I'm okay with the penalty. Like, yeah, you're getting nothing. So there's that.
Yeah.
And look, I know these rules are complex and convoluted, but how people think they can double dip when we know double dipping is not a thing. It's
No.
it's hard to explain that, but I try to, have a little bit of humor. It's like, oh, did you hear that from your Uncle Charlie or your neighbor across the fence?
Right.
Because it's just not. This is not how the world works.
So I want to, have a little comment here about Medicare. So what do you think the most common confusion you see between Social Security claiming and Medicare enrollment timing? There seems to be, people get that all messed up too.
They do. And there are a lot of areas where one can get tripped up here. Let me first say that there is no way in America today, anyone age 65 and older can have any month of an insurance gap. You've got to have your health insurance in place. So understanding these rules and the knitting together of the Social Security laws, they bring in Medicare. The Medicare Act is part of the Social Security Act. Same law, knitted together. So what people don't know.
What was it you said? 3,700 pages?
Yeah. Isn't that fun? And that's not even the current one. That's from a couple of years ago. So it's probably up over 4,500 pages now, this law.
Right.
But it's massive and it is easy to make a mistake. So the biggest mistake I see is the people who claim early, they may still be working or they're covered on their spouse's health insurance at work. They all of a sudden, unbeknownst to them, 2 months before they turn 65, they get a packet that says, welcome to Medicare.
Right.
I didn't sign up for Medicare. It's like, why, yes, you did.
Yes,
when you
did.
claim early, you have automatically also triggered Medicare to start when you reach age 65. It's an automatic thing. It's a gift. But that then unravels a lot of piece parts, or you have to take action. You could only delay Part B. So now you have to keep your Part A. It's a premium free part of Medicare. So you're not paying for it. But that in turn can prevent you from contributing to a health savings account any longer. So there's a whole ripple effect here.
Right. I actually saw something the other day, Marcia, that I thought was really funny. There was an article that came from Social Security that talked about they've done all these analysis of how long people wait on the phone when they're calling Social Security. And the time has gone dramatically down. They're really, really proud of that. Well, that's great. But that, and another thing I'll say about calling Social Security and trying to make sure you're doing all these things right, if you're not talking to somebody like us, is that you have to know what those dates are for you. And a lot of times when you call Social Security, and I won't say, maybe this has gotten better, but sometimes when you would call one person, and the reason I love the name of my podcast, Ask Good Questions, because if you would ask one question of one person who gets on the phone with you, sometimes you might get a different answer from somebody else who then you call back and, know, so this is like we're talking about your whole life. So you've got to get it right.
You really do. And I'm also somewhat forgiving of Social Security's agents, because this stuff is so complicated and they have to do way more than the retirement side. They're dealing with disability on one call and then they turn in it's the retirement call and then it's, a surviving child situation.
Right.
So they're all over the map. So, and it's like the IRS, if you call 1-800, IRS, you're also going to get multiple answers to the same question. So we all as consumers have to be a little tighter with the language we use. We have to use more technical language, which is hard. That meant you had to do your research ahead of time. But the other thing I'll say, I saw that same article about Social Security saying, wow, our phone volumes, they are just snapping right along. Yeah, you know why? They didn't mention this. But after you're on hold for not very long, they immediately dump you into an auto system that says, press 1 if you want us to call you back. So you're not actually sitting on the phone because you can't anymore. You get moved into the queue. They will, in fact, call you back, but it might be 4 hours later.
Yeah. So remember what you were going to ask them.
Right. And write down your questions. Have your statement with you. Have your you need to know things like, how big is your employer? And I know that sounds stupid, but if you work for a huge company, it's like, well, I work for GM or Xerox or whatever. It's a huge company. You're fine. It's the people whose husbands usually are working for a small local company. It's like, does the company have 20 or more employees? And they're not actually sure. Well, that is the huge difference between whether you've got to get into Medicare Parts A and B before turning 65, right, to integrate with your 65th birthday month, or can you delay Part B? It's all on the size of the employer. So some things that we don't think of, if you're working for a big company, as a big deal. When you're working on the smaller end, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So these are things
I think, Marcia, I've just decided that I think that all we're going to do is agitate people today. But
I don't think so. I think we're empowering them with information. Because
yes, we're empowering them.
You have to know the kinds of questions and really write them down.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I'll tell you, the Social Security website is really good about telling you when you're getting ready to enroll, like, this is the stuff we might ask you about. They tell you. It's right there. Yeah. Now, do we do our homework before we pick up a phone? No, we don't. So
no,
I think that's what we could leave people
with.
They
can always call back.
Yeah.
So we knew that this was going to go really fast. And we knew that there's a lot more that we could talk about. We'll have to do it another time. I would like to have a just women talk about that subject, because there's a lot we can say there. But today, if a listener, people are starting to think about getting their taxes done for 2025.
Yeah.
What could they do this week that they could get more confident? Like maybe 3 steps that you would recommend that they do: documents together, questions to ask, decisions to postpone until they have the facts, maybe.
I would also do things like, I had a really good, pull down before you even get started on assembling your documents. Download or go to your local library or senior center and get a copy of the 1040 SR. If you're a senior, SR stands for senior. It's the 1040, but in bigger font, so we can actually read the darn thing. But get the tax return, just the 1040, so that you can look at it when it's empty to see what is going to count as income, the front page, and then start to understand the deductions. Because the standard deductions are bigger every year. If you are over 65 or over, or if you're blind, you get even more of a deduction. And then play around with that $6,000 bonus deduction. Will you be eligible for some or all of it? So that's step 1. Get the 1040 and look at it. Step 2, I agree with you. Start to gather your documents. I actually have a spreadsheet. We only do this tax stuff once a year. So I have a spreadsheet where I know what's the first thing to come in: the W-2s, then the 1099 INTs, the 1099 divs, all this stuff, your charitable contribution receipts. Dump it all in a shoebox. Just to have a single place or a folder that you are just gathering this stuff as it's coming in. So that's the second thing, is gather the documents. And the third thing is, I would pull down your latest. So if you're not yet claiming Social Security, after January 31st, when the W-2s have been submitted, about 2 weeks later, so February 15th, go into your My Social Security account and download and look at your latest Social Security statement and take a look at it. Did they get the income right coming in from 2025? Is anything looking unusual? So that you can take an action if you need to. So that's where I would start for tax season.
Awesome. Well, we have got to say goodbye for today.
This went so fast. You're right.
I know. So fast. So, Marcia, thank you so much. There will be, I've got a little place where I put information from my guests. And so on my website, you'll be able to go and check out information about Marcia and her company. And so with that, I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining the Ask Good Questions podcast today, and we'll see you next time.
Today's episode is over, but we did ask good questions again, didn't we? Don't miss out as we broadcast live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. Join Bonita Bell-Andersen next week for more conversations with experts on finances, retirement, behavioral finance issues, health and wellness, and more. Until then, remember to ask good questions.